Hello, everyone, and welcome to another one of our bi-monthly TEPSA Presents. My name is Todd Nesloni, and I'm the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership here at the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. We are so thrilled to be bringing you all this wide variety of topics through our TEPSA Presents right here on our Facebook Live. We've had some great things about the importance of play, about connecting with kids during COVID-19, about what it's an open and honest conversation about being Black in America. And today, I am so stinking excited for all of you to get to meet Mishra Keller. I have had a chance to kind of get to know her and talk to her about how to practice radical self-care in 5 easy steps. Those of you on here who are listening who are in any kind of work, much less an education as a teacher or an administrator, know the importance of self-care because too often we are not taking care of ourselves. We are more focused on taking care of our staffs or our students. So I can't wait to learn myself some great tips tonight, but also to let Mishra share her brilliance. So Mishra, kind of introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are.
All right. So I am a holistic health coach. Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you. I'm a holistic health coach and the founder and director of NutriResults. And NutriResults is a holistic wellness company where we bring together women who want to value their health and prioritize their wellness and help them to build habits and practices that make their self-care number one priority so that we can experience less pain, get better sleep, experience less stress, feel great in our bodies, and love who we see in the mirror. So I have been doing this work for about 12 years. And I was just telling Todd that I have really kind of been on this journey to doing this work for a very, very long time. I had asthma and allergies as a child that were, by the time I got to be an adult, were kind of debilitating for me. Where most people have seasonal allergies, I had allergies 365 days a year. And sometimes they really kept me from living my life in the way that I wanted to. And so I was trying all kinds of, the kind of, um, for lack of a better term, Western medical kind of uh, therapies,
Yeah.
and none of them were really working. So I was doing allergy shots, taking allergy meds, and nothing was really working. And what part that I was telling you about when I was a dancer, um, I started to, when I first got out of college and I started dancing professionally, I started to really kind of get some exposure to another way of caring for the body because dancers tend to live off the grid a little bit in terms of having health insurance, and so they really have gotten good at finding ways to care for their bodies, to heal their bodies without being able to go to the doctor per se, because they couldn't really afford that. So I was starting to get exposed to different ways of thinking about the body. And I was also telling Todd, our artistic director used to dole out blue green algae. Anytime anyone was sick, she knew when sneezing or coughing, she didn't want the rest of us to get sick. So she would make us all take blue green algae. And so I just started learning more, that there was more out there and there were more options.
Yeah.
And fast forward about 10 years from there, I started working in a chiropractic office and learning about the body in terms of how strong and how amazing it is and how it will heal if you give it what it needs and get out of its way.
Yeah.
So, so then that inspired me to kind of want to give back to the community in terms of another experience that I had in college of when I was a cheerleader. And of course, cheerleaders tend to, the kind of persona of having to look a certain way. There was a weight limit to be on the squad I was on. And it created a lot of demons for me in terms of food and how to best feed myself in a way that still enabled me to be able to participate as a cheerleader. And so a lot of food confusion, body image stuff, the whole thing. So when I started working in the chiropractic office and was inspired to pursue a career in the health and wellness industry, I knew that doing it around food and nutrition and helping people to navigate how to feed themselves well and live well and feel good in their bodies was what I wanted to do. So yeah, so went to Institute for Integrative Nutrition and became a health coach and started my company, and the rest is history.
I love that. And just a fun fact for those listening today that are TEPSA members, you also are friends with one of our own team members here at TEPSA, Belinda Neal, which is how I got connected with you. So shout out to Belinda for connecting us to bring you on here
Yes, thank
today.
you, Belinda.
But Mishra, when I reached out to you, you and I talked about, there's so many things that educators or administrators are overwhelmed with and different feelings they're having. And so before we even get started into what your 5 easy steps are, I want to start with identifying how do you define self-care? Because I think when some people hear that, they think like, oh, a bubble bath, like that's my self-care. And I think it's so much more than that. So how would you define self-care before we get started here?
Self-care, and actually that's part we are gonna cover that in one of the steps, but self-care is very personal. How you feed yourself and how you fill yourself up so that you can then give to others in a way that feels good to you and it feels abundant to you and not like you're being drained. So what those activities are can be different for every person.
Right.
But I think self care is just about making sure that you are filled up and you have what you need to be your best, and so that you can be the best for
I
others.
love that. Well, let's jump into your 5 easy steps. So tell me what our first step is today.
All right. So I look at my notes here. First step, if you want to put that circle of
Yes.
life wheel up. So the first step is evaluate. And just like I'm talking to educators here, and I actually come from family educators. My mom's a retired teacher. My father was an administrator. My sister's like, so I get it. I grew up around this. So yeah. So one of the first things that you do when you're trying to teach something to someone, you want to evaluate. You want to see, where are they? What are the things that they're doing really well? What are the things that are areas of improvement? So you need to do that for yourself when you start looking at how to put together a really nurturing self-care routine. You need to find out what's going on. So this is an exercise that I learned at Integrated Nutrition. It's called the Circle of Life. It's one of my favorite exercises for my clients, and it's just a really good evaluation tool.
And we also
Basically,
have this link in the post. So if you want to click on the link and download your own version of the Circle of Life, you can do this along with Mishra as she talks now.
so basically, what you do is you it's a continuum. So you're going to look at each category. So let's say creativity. Um, if you feel like you have a lot of creativity in your life and that's a part that you are um, really participating in that a lot, you want to put a dot like closer to the edge of the circle. If you feel like that's an area where you could need some improvement, maybe you need a little bit more attention, you want to put it closer to the center. So you want to do that for each category. Then you connect the dots and see what kind of circle you've made. Is it like a wonky circle? Does it look like a heart? Does it look like a small circle in the middle? Or does it feel kind of balanced? And what that does, it allows you to know not only where you need to put some more attention, but also what's working. I know we tend to, I know that you guys are hardworking, dedicated people too. So that tends to be the kind of mentality of looking at what still needs to be done. And so sometimes we forget to acknowledge what's actually working in our lives and what's going well. So that is just as important as knowing what's going wrong. So this is a fantastic exercise. When you do this, though, if you could do it now, sit down and kind of take some time and really consider what you're doing.
Mhm.
And then when you've got it printed out and you finished, put it up somewhere where you can see it,
Yeah.
and kind of so it helps to remind you, oh yes, exercise is one of those things.
Mhm.
Too close to the circle. I know I'm tired today, but I need to go ahead and sit down and figure out when I'm going to exercise today, or whatever that is. But it's a nice reminder, and it's also good to kind of do it periodically and see what changes you've made and how it has affected your quality of life.
And when you and I talked about this, you assigned it to me for my homework before our chat tonight, and I actually did mine, and it was so interesting for me, because sometimes when we think so big picture, we're like, okay, where do I need to work on? What am I stressed about? But then for this to break it down into these areas, and for me to think about each section and put a dot, and then when I was able to see like, ooh, okay, that one's really close to the middle. Like I need to put some effort right here because that's an area that I need to work and grow in. So I loved this. For administrators who are listening today, this would be a fantastic way to even start your school year, any of those faculty meetings, to have them complete this and then think of a plan. Because if your people aren't taking care of themselves, they're not going to be good for anybody else. And it was so easy. It's like the perfect entry point into this conversation because there's no stress involved with completing this. And so I love that. So what do you have next for us, Mishra?
All right. So, second step is set your non-negotiables. So, it's very easy to not say no to things because you want to take care of everyone else. You want everyone else's needs to be met and you want, everyone to love you. So, it's very easy to just start saying yes to everything and then there's nothing left for you. So, I actually teach a course. It's called Reclaiming Your Time, and it is about how you go about creating a schedule and how you can live your life in a way where your needs are being met first and you're putting yourself first in your own life and in your own schedule. And so, one of the first things that we do is to sit down and think about what are those things that I have to have in order to feel good and in order to be taken care of, to be healthy, all those great things. What are those things? So you sit down and you figure out what are those most important things. Maybe you just start with 3 things. And then you want to sit down and actually put them in your schedule and then they become your non-negotiables. Like no matter what's happening, someone invites you to dinner or to a meeting or something and I'm sorry, I'm not available. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Thank you, I'm not available. And
So
so then you
what,
start to teach people those are the things that are most important to you and that is what you're going to make time for and those become your non-negotiables.
I think for some people listening today, it might be easy to hear that, but how do you tell people like it's not selfish to take care of you?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't take care of you, no one else is going to take care of you. You are responsible for you. This is really the only thing we're responsible for.
Right.
To be honest, like we all have to take our own personal responsibility. No one else is going to do that for you. So, and you have to also teach people how you want to be treated. So if you're not treating yourself well and you don't value yourself enough to take care of yourself, that is the energy that you're giving off to people, and that's
Right.
what you're going to get back. So, if you want, you know, more of the good and the positive, you have to create that and you have to take your responsible. The beautiful thing is it's in our hands, right? So we can control that. So, no, there's nothing selfish about taking care of yourself. Because
And what you said there really resonated with me. And I think in my own personal journey, it's when somebody realizes the power of taking care of you and how much better it makes you for everybody else, you don't need to be convinced any further because you've seen the effects. And then people will say, well, like, wow, you've got so much more energy, or you've got it all together, or you're not burnt out yet. And it's like, I'm not burnt out because I have these things in place. Like you said, my non-negotiables that it's okay. I've come to the conclusion that it's okay to say no to this because that's one of my non-negotiables. And if I cave there, I'm going to start caving everywhere. And so you've really got to hold firm. So I love that advice. So thank you, Mishra. What else do you have for us?
all right. So the third step is get real about time. So one of my favorite things to say to people is like, we all have 24 hours in a day, just like Beyonce, because she seems to get a lot of stuff done in 24 hours. However, we only have 24 hours in a day, right? And if you are giving yourself good self-care and practicing, healthy habits, you're getting a good 8 hours of sleep at night. So that only leaves what? I'm horrible at math. 16. Is that right?
Yeah.
Am I gonna? I'm a bunch of teachers and I can't subtract 8 from 24. Um, 16 hours to do whatever you have to get done.
Yeah.
So you can't do everything and you can't say yes to everything. So again, in this course that I teach, we get real about time and we get real about how long it actually takes you to do each thing.
Mhm.
Um, because you're thinking, oh yeah, that's going to take me like 15 minutes,
Mhm.
and it's really going to take you an hour,
Yeah.
and then you wonder why an hour has gone by, and then now something else is, and then you're behind the whole rest of the
Mhm.
day. So you have to really get real about how much time you actually have, and you have to manage like I mean, this we haven't figured out how to bend time and move through time. Maybe some people have, but most of us have not. So we're dealing with this kind of finite kind of space where once it's gone, it's gone. We can't go back. So you have to remember how precious the time is.
Yeah.
So you have to people really you know cognizant of their money and how much when spending their money and budgeting their money. Your time is just as precious, if not more precious
Mhm.
than your money. So you need to give it the credit
Right.
that's due there, and manage your time and get real about how long things actually take you to accomplish them.
There were several things you said there that really resonated with me. The first one is we haven't learned how to bend time yet, but I do feel like Beyonce has. And so just putting that out there. But the second thing
Yeah.
I will say is, I think you're so right about us being real about how long things take us to do. Because I think we all, especially us as educators, we underestimate everything. Like, oh, I can get that done, like you said, in 15 minutes. And then an hour goes by and we feel like we have no control over our schedule because now everything is thrown off. And I know for me, I had to get to a point when I was a principal to like scheduling my day and my calendar to say, I sit down with my secretary and she would say, no, 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 that is not going to take you 10 minutes. That's going to take you 35. So we're putting that block on there. And then also knowing that when that block was over, I had to move on to my next thing because otherwise I knew I'd be so frustrated that everything got thrown off. I knew I would be less frustrated if I didn't finish that one item, whereas then everything else. So I love what you said there about just getting real about our time and how much those things take and managing it better. So thank you. So
Yeah.
Mishra, what else? What's the next one?
All right. So number 4, get moving.
Mm.
Our bodies are built to move. They're not built to get out of bed, get dressed, sit in a car, get out, sit at a desk. I know a lot of educators are up and doing things, but
Mhm.
even still, you're still sitting down, grading papers, doing your lesson plans, whatever. And then you get back in your car and you sit. And then you get home, you might get something to eat and you sit. And then you start watching The Great on Hulu and binge watching that. And then you're sitting. So we are not designed for all of this sitting, and this
Yeah.
is causing a lot of problems in our health on so many levels. So get moving. Um, find the movement modality that you really love and feels good to you and your body, and then do that. So
Mhm.
not everyone needs to do CrossFit.
Right.
Not everyone else needs to run. I don't run unless I'm being chased. So I have found other things that yeah. So and chased by someone like really dangerous, I really need to run. I need some serious motivation to run. So um yeah, so find the thing that feels good to you and your body, and then do that. And then schedule it in and make that one of your non-negotiables so that you stick to it and you're consistent with it. Doing movement that you don't enjoy is like that's a colossal waste of your time and your energy, um, because you get so many things other than just the exercise when you find that thing that feels really good to you. So before I started teaching Pound Fitness, dance was one of my go-to's because I've been an athlete, most like all of my youth. I was an
Mhm.
athlete, so I didn't really have to think about going to the gym or making time for exercise because the things I love to do just so happened to be that I was jumping around, tumbling, and doing things that were exercise. And as
Right.
I became an adult, I had to start to make time for those. Dance still was that thing for a long time because I was dancing professionally. And then I started having kids. that messed everything up. And so then I had to get really clear and realize that you have to make time for this, and you have to schedule the time to go to dance class, and make it happen. And then I discovered Pound Fitness, and that really resonated with me, and I thought it was awesome, and I wanted everyone to know that this was available. So then I started teaching it. So so those are the things that feel really good in my body and what I like to do. And so but you gotta find what you love and feels good to you, and then go with that.
And I love what you said, though, just about the importance of moving. But I think what you said that really stuck with me is make sure that you're moving in a way that you enjoy. Because some people think, oh, like you said, I've got to go take a CrossFit class, or I've got to go running, and then they don't actually enjoy doing that. Like me, I don't enjoy doing that. Like you said, you'll run if you're being chased. I'll run if there's only 2 tacos left at the taco truck. Like I'll run then. But as far as the rest, it's like, no, that doesn't bring me joy. And even though I know that, hey, it's a great healthy exercise, I'm not going to stick with it because I hate doing it. But I do know I enjoy, like my wife and I walk around our community every night for 1 mile to 1.5 miles. And I do know that I don't mind doing stairs and like things like that, are things that I like to do that are moving. But, even though as educators and administrators, we may not be sitting down a ton because we're always up chasing kids or things like that, during times like COVID, I do find that I'm sitting way more than I ever was, or laying down way more. And so I love what you said about even scheduling in that time to say, I need to schedule in a time where I'm going to get up and move. I'm going to get up and do something. And if you've got a lot of this smart technology, like with my watch, it'll tell me you haven't been up in 30 minutes, get up. So I'm like, okay, now I'm going to go get up and do something for a minute and come back. So easy to do, doesn't cost a dime, and will benefit your self-care in the long run. So that's exactly what we need. I mean, everybody wants things that are quick and easy. There you go. Getting up and moving is quick and easy. So Mishra, what do you have as our 5th step?
So the 5th step is to create your sanctuary. So I recently became completely obsessed with gardening, which is weird because I've literally killed every houseplant that I have ever owned. But I was determined this year, I don't know, something shifted in me at the beginning of the year, and I started binge watching British gardening shows, which I'm total British television-aholic person, but that's why I was watching the British ones. Anyway, so I'm watching these shows and I'm taking notes, and I had the whole plan, and then I was just like waiting on the weather. And so once the weather changed and I started creating this garden space, and it turned out to be so much more than I ever anticipated, especially in the idea that I find myself just wanting to be out there all the time. And so what has just kind of organically happened, because I have to go out and water these things now. They're like my children. I gotta feed them and water them. So I go out and water the plants, and then I sit and I just sit in the garden, and sometimes I just sit and listen to the birds, whatever, or I may be on my phone, but I'm just sitting and not doing anything. I know I talk about sitting, you shouldn't be sitting, but it's really like my quiet time, my contemplation time, to find myself in the morning. And then if I've come inside and having a stressful day, and then I just okay, I just need to get out of the house, and I want to go out there, and that's where I want to be, to find myself again. So it has become a sanctuary for me. So, but sanctuaries don't necessarily have to be a physical place. It can be a feeling. So I know, again, I don't know anything about this for sure because I don't do it, but for people who like to run, I've heard that there's this runner's high that once you get into a certain rhythm and a groove, and you start feeling this kind of feeling of euphoria or joy. And so, that may be someone's sanctuary, is getting into that feeling. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a place. It can just be an energy or a feeling that you create for yourself. But you just want to make sure that you're doing that on a consistent basis and not every now and again. That needs to be part of your self-care plan and your self-care routine, that you are visiting that sanctuary on a regular basis.
I love that. And I think that is such, again, great advice. And, when we talked about having this conversation today, Mishra, we talked about, making these things easy to do. And so it all is about will you prioritize yourself long enough to make these things happen? Because when you do, you're going to find that these little shifts, the sanctuary, the movement, the schedule, the looking at how much time, all this kind of stuff, it really does play a bigger role in the long run. And in our field, like several other fields out there in the world today, that self-care is so important because we are a field of educators that we're constantly pouring into others, and we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. So Mishra, as we begin to wrap up today, I love whenever I do these to kind of leave people with one final thought, one big picture thing to keep in their mind as they leave. So what do you have?
Before we final thought, I have a bonus tip.
Yeah.
So then
Oh, good. I always love a bonus.
Okay. The bonus tip is get a handle on your chronic pain once and for all. All of us have had some experience with some type of pain event, whether we've had an injury or if it's an injury that never healed, or suddenly you may have this pain that seems to come out of nowhere. But I can imagine that all of us have had some type of experience with that. And many of us are dealing with chronic pain on a daily basis. If you're dealing with this, I don't have to tell you, but it starts to bleed over into every aspect of your life, and it's a huge problem. So if you can do one thing for your self-care, focus on doing what you need to do in order to really get to the bottom of that, because you're probably not exercising because it hurts. You're probably not taking that quiet introspective time to go inside and sense what you're feeling because it feels gross in there. It hurts in there. So, and it's hard to make good rational decisions when the pain is there and it's getting in the way of your life. So I'm going to give a shameless plug here for something that I teach. The reason why this has become so important for me is because I teach something called the MELT method. The MELT method is a self-treatment technique that hydrates the connective tissue or the fascia in the body. And the connective tissue is just like the word is. It connects everything in your body. It's the only system in the body that's seamlessly connected from head to toe and skin to bone. So, and every system in the body is relying on the health of this tissue in order to do their jobs. So, it's the stability system in the body. You have nutrient flow through the connective tissue. Information from your brain to your body back to your brain is flowing through this tissue. And daily living causes it to become dehydrated, and that blocks, it's like sediment in a river. It blocks the flow of the fluid and the information and the nutrients and everything from going through the tissue. And then suddenly your brain is telling your feet something. Your feet are like, I don't know what you said up there, but I'm just going to make it up. And so then it starts doing some weird wonky thing, and then all of a sudden you're like, my knee hurts. Why does my knee hurt? It's because your foot's doing something weird because it doesn't know what your brain is telling it. It doesn't know where your brain doesn't know where your body is in space, and so it's just making things up. So these techniques help to hydrate the tissue. It helps to improve the brain communication from the brain to the body, and it will, among a lot of other things, but one of the main things it does, it reduces and for many people eliminates chronic pain in the body. So that was my story. I was having some issues with knee pain from teaching pound, and for about 6 months or so, I was going to the chiropractor, and we would try. She would adjust me. I was doing PT on it, massage, and it would start to heal, and then the pain would always come back. So she recommended foam rolling because one of the tools we use in MELT is a foam roller specifically designed for MELT. So when I started foam rolling and thought, oh, this feels really good. I think my pound students might benefit from this. So I was like, okay, well, let me figure out how I can teach this. So was doing research on how to teach foam rolling. And because we use a foam roller in MELT, when I did my search, MELT came up. And at first I was irritated because I was like, what is this connective tissue business? Like, I've been a health coach for 10 years. I spent a lot of money going to nutrition school. Never heard of this. What is this thing? But I bought the book, read it, I bought a kit, started doing the techniques on myself. And within about a month, my knee pain went away and has not been back. And that was 3 years ago. So very simple techniques, my kids will melt with me sometimes. And my daughter now, she's like, "Oh, mom, my elbow hurts. I need to melt." So I'm like, starting them off right. But they're very simple to do. It only takes a few minutes a day. You can do it as little as 3 times a week, and it can make a huge difference. The connective tissue, the fascia area, if you want to research that, is I would describe it as like the next emerging area of science, because we have not collectively really, our medical community has not really been looking at connective tissue as being something that's a serious player, and it's probably one of the most serious players in the body. So if you want to kind of be on the next step and really affect some positive change in your body, take a look at the connective tissue. Melt is not the only way to create these changes in the body. There's manual therapists that do this, and there are other systems as well. So if you want to melt, that's awesome. If not, but having some work on the connective tissue in your self-care toolkit is something that you will find a lot of benefit from.
I love that. And that's something that I haven't even looked into or thought about much. And so now you have me hooked, and I'm wanting to go look at what this is. So what's your one closing thought for everybody today as we close out?
One closing thought is take the responsibility for yourself. No one else is going to take care of you better than you are. No one else lives in your body but you, hopefully. So you have to be the one. This thing that we live in is so amazing, and it cares for us every day. Our hearts beat over and over again, and we don't even think about it for a split second, and it just does it. We eat food and it just digests. We don't have to think about it. Like it does, and if something is going wrong, it will try to fix it for us without us even doing anything. It's amazing. So remember the amazing power that we have and who we are in our bodies, and just take care of yourself. If everyone started to take just a little bit better care of ourselves, it will completely shift the world, and we will have a completely different world if everyone was doing that. So if you want to be a change maker and you want to see positive change in the world, I mean, I hate to sound like Michael Jackson, but start with yourself. And self-care and doing one little activity will make a huge difference and go a long way, and it will resonate out to everyone.
I love that. That is such good advice. Everything you said today is just so easy, and things that we can, especially in the summertime, can really take and put into effect, so that when the year comes in, we already have those things in place. So Mishra, thank you so much for being here. People want to connect with you. Where can they go to connect with you?
You can go to my website. It's nutriresults.com. I don't know if you want to pop that into the chat area. They actually have a promo going on right now. I teach the things I was mentioning: the pound, melt, meditation. I teach those classes virtually. So I have a 15% off code that you can get if you join my email list, and you can get more information about all those things I talked about today. You'll have access to some virtual classes so you can get moving. We do some melts, and you can start working on getting a handle on that chronic pain. And then the meditation, of course, that's that quiet reflection time to help reduce anxiety and stress and that kind of thing. So I would love to have you join me, and we can take care of ourselves together.
Well, Mishra, you have been a fantastic person to have on today. You have brought so much to the table, and I know that us as educators and administrators need to be thinking about this stuff so we don't burn out and we can be there for others. So thank you from everybody here at TEPSA for spending a few minutes with us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And thank you, everybody, for joining another one of our bi-monthly TEPSA Presents. Remember, you can check us out twice a month on Tuesdays at 4 o'clock right here on our TEPSA Facebook page.